Hi, I'm Katie and this is episode 71 of Ornamentations, and today we have spring kit releases, which I'm really excited about, a little bit of WIP progress, as well as some talk about color and a few favorite books, as well as a new giveaway to celebrate the spring kit releases. As you can probably hear from my voice, I've been pretty sick. I actually haven't been stitching for about the last 3 weeks. I've been down with a cold that turned into bronchitis. So yeah, that's been really fun, but I am much better, although I'm not at full strength. As bad as my voice sounds right now, this is actually huge improvement. I lost it entirely for over a week. I was communicating solely via text message and handwritten notes, so being able to talk at all is actually a huge relief. But one thing that did slow me down on is that I am thrilled to announce that the Elizabeth and Valentine will be running again eminently. I hope to open registration in June. I was actually hoping to have a date for you today, but being sick in bed for 3 weeks has really set me back on kitting, planning, and all of that. If you want to be sure not to miss registration, sign up for the notification list that's linked in the description for this episode. An email will go out to everyone on the list when registration opens for the next running of the Elizabeth and Valentine. I hope to have a date for registration on the next Flosstube. But we'll start today with the spring kit releases. There are 2, and I have to give special thanks to my mom, without whom this would not have been possible. She has done all of the final assembly because I have been laid up in bed. She wrapped all of the fabrics, she put all the prints and the fabrics in the kit bags, she labeled everything, and then yesterday together we put all of the threads in to finish all the kits, which are all in stock and ready to ship out, although it may take me a couple days more than usual to actually get everything in the mail, just because I'm still not at full strength. So thank you in advance for your patience there. But let's start with the first kit, which is Chocolate Harts. We saw this FFO last time. That is by Plum Samplers. And just to note on this and the other kit release, the kits include everything except the chart, which you will need to provide. So this is Chocolate Harts by Plum, and this is my finish. The box is not included, although a lot of options on finishing and where to source those different options are part of your kit materials for this. The kit for Chocolate Harts is $60, and it includes a very generous cut of the linen, which is Legacy Linen 38 count Fuller's Teasel, as well as all of the silk threads used. Those are 8 fabulous colors, a written guide to the conversion, a print that shows my finish, as well as 3 round templates which would suit 3 different style of finishes. So the smallest would be a 7-inch round shaker box like I've done here. The medium would be for a stitch drum top, and then the largest would be if you wanted to go up to an 8-inch shaker box. I discussed that on the last episode if you missed that, how it could be adjusted, and then some quick directions on how I finished and fitted this into the lid of the shaker box are also included in the kit materials as well. There are going to be 3 versions of the Chocolate Harts kits listed, as I mentioned on the last episode. So the first, which will be labeled Chocolate Harts Silk Conversion Kit, is the 8 threads exactly that I used as seen here. The second one, which is also in stock, will be listed as Chocolate Harts Restock, and that's the same except for one of the threads, that lighter green that we discussed last time, has been substituted. However, the 2 are, in all honesty, functionally identical. I've had to silo off the restock and the stock restocked kits at two opposite ends of the house, so I don't mix them up. It's so hard to tell them apart. So I do stand behind that substitution. I wouldn't do it if I truly didn't think that you get the same functional result with the substituted thread, but I do want you to know what you're buying. So that's what the difference is there. And then if we run through all of that, I can also take pre-orders on chocolate hearts, and those will also feature the same substituted light green. But again, I really don't think you'll notice a difference. You know, I chose all these threads and I still have a hard time telling the substituted threads apart. No joke. And then chocolate hearts, which, did I say it's $60? I'm sorry, this episode may be a little disjointed because I'm still, well, I'm not at full strength, I'm under the weather, but it is an absolutely beautiful, beautiful piece. I love this. And I'm looking forward to putting my sewing box finish with my own stitchy treasures. I could, as I said last time, I could not be more pleased with how this turned out. And I love the box finish, although I do have other suggestions on finishing as part of the kit materials if you'd like to do something different. And I do have different box suggestions as part of the kit materials. So today's giveaway is actually unfinished birchwood beechwood box that's also a 7-inch round. It's perfectly round, unlike my handmade shaker box, and this will be the giveaway as an alternate and less expensive finishing option. Sorry, I'm gonna try and cut out coughing fits, but anyways, and then the second kit that's on offer is the first Tiny Treasures offering for small and really special finishes that are a great way to either try out silk or to just have a really beautiful and special small finish. And as I revealed last time, that is the Stacy Nash Feathered Nest pin book finishing tutorial for this is up on my channel. It went up on 2 weeks ago if you haven't seen it yet. And then this is the finish that you'll get from the kit, complete with the beautiful Liberty of London Tana Lawn interior. Got everything for the stitched back. This kit is $50. I know that is a little expensive for such a small finish, but I did want to include all of the little finishing extras that I think really kind of help push this one over the top. So the Feathered Nest pin cape will not be restocked. I have put a lot of kits into stock, but that will be it. And then the conversion will be permanently retired after those sell out. Just because of all the different components that went into these kits. They were more complicated than the Chocolate Arts kits. And so the kits for the Feathered Nest pinkeep include the linen, which is also 38 count Fuller's Teasel by Legacy Linen, as with Chocolate Hearts. It includes all of the threads. There are only 6, and they're really, you know, they don't really look that harmonious, but they produce such a vibrant, fabulous finish. I love this. And then all of the extras that you need for finishing. So those would be the cardstock templates, as we saw in the finishing tutorial, the coordinating silk ribbon, the crystal bead for the bird's eye, as well as a cut of the beautiful Liberty of London Tana Lawn that's used in the finishing. And I think just kind of helps, well, I'm really partial to Liberty of London Lawn, as you may know if you've been a long-time viewer of my channel, but I think it just adds something really bright and happy to the finish. And really bright and happy is how I feel about this piece generally. Those colors are just, oh, glorious. And then the ribbon goes perfectly. I'm really, really pleased with this. And as I noted, there is a tutorial up for the way that I finish this, although the kit would work equally well for alternate finishing methods. So just as a final note, whether or not you're interested in the kit, I really can't recommend Stacy Nash's really charming little pinkeeps highly enough. They make for such fun finishes. So a while ago I made her I Will Cut You pinkeep for my mom, and actually had a little bit of a pang giving that one up, and I really enjoyed Feathered Nest. I hope you will too, and I'm going to be keeping my eyes out for some other pinkeep possibilities because I had a lot of fun making this, and I think the finish is just bright and happy and a fabulous little stitchy treasure to add to my collection. So I guess our theme for spring are wonderful sewing accessories. So chocolate hearts and feathered nest pinkeep are now available on my website, and again, the kits include everything that you'll need except the chart, which you do have to provide. And I haven't been stitching much since I saw you last. I can't tell you how unusual that is. Usually, you know, even if I'm under the weather, I'm still stitching because I'm bored otherwise, but not so much this time. I do, however, have a quick little FFO. We saw the finished stitching on this last time, but I did manage to actually get this together into a little finish to go into my little collection of stitched strawberries. It's my berry bowl. So if you watch The Curious Crafters, and if you don't, you really should, Anna is doing a series of berry bowls, stitched ones, where she actually pulls them off charts and then makes them into little finishes. I liked the idea of kind of playing on that with a little literal berry bowl collection of strawberries. So most of these gifts, this I think was thread milk primitives. I bought that, and then my finish is the Scattered Seed Samplers Little Berry Thief pinkeep. We got the chart and then the decorative pins for this at Sampler Symposium this year, and I wanted to do mine just like Jean did it, so I did it on Legacy Linen 48 count March Pane. The conversion was in the last episode, but I will share it in this one as well. And so then this is my little finish. It's just been stuffed, and then I did a double top straw. Oh goodness, I'm afraid this episode is going to be a disaster. Of grain of felt at the top. It looks a little bulky against the delicacy of the stitching, so I may revisit this in future, but I just couldn't resist. This was something I had in stash, and the color was such a perfect match to the green, but it does look a little at odds with the delicacy of the finish, so I don't know. I may go back and edit this at some point. And then I did add the Minnie McBean's strawberry pins at the top, just like Jean did it. I mean, we all want to grow up to be just like Jean. I'm just like everybody else on that. By the way, will I be seeing some of you at summer school? Registration opened last week, and as you probably know if you read the newsletter, I am teaching again this year, and my mom will be coming back with me. So I hope that we'll be seeing some of you at the attic for summer school fun times. I am looking forward to it enormously. So that is my little tribute to Jean Lee and my addition to my berry bowl, which is the Little Berry Thief pinkeep, as we saw finished at Sampler Symposium. I really wanted velvet for this, but I just didn't have a coordinating shade. What I did have was way too dark, and it just looked off. So we'll see if I can come up with something else in the future. In the meantime, this is still really, really cute, and it goes really well as a little tiny berry bowl display. And then next, Snow Magical. So I don't have a finish or as much progress as I might have hoped to show you, but I did think that this was a really good piece to illustrate some principles about color and how you can use your silk stash or your thread stash. I mean, you don't have to stitch with this with silk at all. So in any piece, and Snow Magical I think is just a really good example of it, there are some colors that are more important and some colors that are less important. It's kind of like casting a movie or a TV show. Like you have your leads, your stars, the recognizable names that you pay a lot of money to, and then you've got the supporting cast, and then you've got the extras just filling out the background of the scene, and you never really learn their names, right? So in this piece, well, in the way that I've stitched it, there are 3 critical factors. Those are the linen, which is Fox and Rabbit 40 count ocean air. I think the blue background is really going to kind of be one of the defining elements of my interpretation of this piece. That vibrant aqua goblins, which is 132, and then the white I've used, which is Gobelins Blanc. Those 3 things together are really what gives the piece this kind of pop, and you need those specific things to see this level of brightness on this specific color. However, the other colors that I'm using, and I do have a full conversion which I will list in the description, and you can absolutely just do what I've done and stitch along with me. However, if you're keeping an eye on cost, or if you have a silk stash that you'd like to use, or you just like to kind of stretch and learn a little bit more about color, this would be a great place to do so, because so many of these colors, they're not really shade dependent. They'd be more or less interchangeable. You just need a dark gray that'll work for a hat and for eyes. You need a brown that you can use for the tree trunks and the sticks that make up his arms. You need an orange and pink to add detail to his face. But none of those exact shades are really important to this piece. What makes it look the way it does, or what will make it look the way it does when I'm finished, are just those 3 things I mentioned: the white, the aqua, and linen. For the others, I think you can more or less just plug in what you have and, you know, see how it turns out. It might help you gain some confidence with color and picking out your own shades if that's something you're interested in. It doesn't have to be. So I would challenge you, if you're stitching along at home, buy the 3 things that you have to have: the aqua goblins, the 132, the Gobelins Blanc for our fabulous snowman and his detailing, and the Fox and Rabbit ocean air, and then see if you can fill out the rest with what you have. You know, pick a pink, pick a green, pick a brown, and these are safe places to pick your own colors in this chart, because, you know, a little bit of difference in shade is not going to affect the final result. It's dependent on those 3 things that I've named. And I think that might be a good exercise that could help you build your color confidence and also use what you have. And it's something to keep in mind generally if you'd like to branch out into being braver with color. Always look at a design and see what stands out. What do you like about it? What are the defining features? And what do you want to emphasize? Those are your most important colors, and they're not always the colors that are used most heavily either. Like a really vibrant accent color that has very limited use can actually be much more important than a color that's used more heavily. So for example, on Berry Thief, getting a really luscious vibrant red brings that piece alive, even though it's not the thread that's used most. So think about what your important colors are and where you can play with that. I hope that makes sense. Anyways, so in the sense of what's important to this design and what's going to make it look the way you want. What are your A-list actors and what are your extras in the background, just filling the things out. It could help you, you know, just use what you have, which is always, I think, a really good thing to do. And I've been talking about this from the perspective of using your silk stash, but I would note that that applies equally well to DMC or overdyed floss or, you know, any thread if you'd like to make more use of what you have and not have to kit up full projects separately all of the time. Oh, and one final thing about Snow Magical, which I forgot. So I've listed green here. That's 103, 325. It's with an asterisk in the conversion in the description because I've tested it here just to make sure that the shade works with the other colors with the ground. I think that it does. However, as I was looking at that, I was thinking, you know what? I think I'm going to remove the green. I won't actually use it. Because as I was thinking about how my version of this is going to come together, I told you last time I thought I was going to remove all the detailing here so that I could just embellish this with sequins and have some fun and replace some of the snowballs with sequins as well. I was looking at, if you take that out, then those few little trees are just kind of distracting from what I want to be the main thrust of this piece, which is going to be all of that blue, that white, and then those sparkles that I'm going to add. So, well, you know how I feel about green. I love green. I think in the way I'm stitching this piece, it's actually ultimately a distraction that I'm going to remove, and I want the focus here to be white, blue, and sparkles, and that, especially that really rich, fabulous aqua cobblers, which is just gorgeous. So we'll see what I can do for next time on Snow Magical. I think that'll probably be the first thing I pick up again, just because, yeah, it's still a little wiped out, and I might actually be glad of some block stitching for once, but I don't know, we'll see. I can't get that crazy. I did also, before I came down with the plague, make some progress on AKGIT 1833 of Your Land Sampler, which we've been following for months now by Modern Folk Embroidery. And oh, I made progress, although, you know, not as much as I would have if I hadn't spent the last 3 weeks in bed, let me tell you. Sorry. Again, hasn't been ironed. We're getting a glimpse into Katie's rail stitching life. So this is where I am, and again, you can see how much that fabric is curling from the way that I usually hold this, but thankfully all the progress is on the other side. So where did I add? I finished that fabulous alphabet, so there are now only 3 letters left to stitch on this chart. I'm so excited about that because you may know I hate letters. Those are the remaining 3 crowned initials all the way on the right side, as well as that lozenge and the little medallion next to it. I also finished the next tree of life. Sorry, knocked the camera there. And then I finished the full bottom row of round medallions, as well as those little ones that go on top of it. So those are all the larger medallions on this piece, which I find hugely exciting because, I mean, they're beautiful. Look at those. Aren't they just stunning? But they're really repetitive, and they have been my least favorite thing to stitch on this piece. So yeah, being done with that element, really, really exciting. I'm pretty deep into my 5th spool of Swassophine. Again, this is surfing, so these are 100-meter spools. And I think I'll probably just get into a 6th to finish this piece off, but oh, I'm getting there. Man, if I hadn't been sick, I'd be really close to a finish right now. But, you know, life happens, and that's where I am. And it's looking fabulous. Hopefully next time I'll think of something new to say about it. So I don't have any haul to share. It has been a month since I've seen you, but I was really tempted by Jacob of Modern Folk Embroidery's new patterns. If you haven't seen them, I can't say this, but the Groningen sampler was just fabulous. And for a minute there, I was having fabulous visions of a black sampler wall, but then I was just like, okay, Katie, get a grip. you are neck deep on AKGAT and need to stay focused and not start planning some insane black sampler wool. So I didn't do that, but I did think about it. And he also has a quick new Flosstube up, which I really enjoyed. If you haven't watched it, I always really like the way that he talks about the inspirations that go into his different pieces, the history, the inspiration, and the research behind them. So he has a Queen of the May pattern out and was talking about, you know, the pagan history behind May Day, and I really enjoyed listening to just his thoughts on his different designs and what inspired him. I love Jacob's Flosstubes. I know, that's the water is wet statement, all right. But personal story to me, May 1st doesn't mean May Day. It actually means Lay Day, as in Lei, flower lay. I was born in Hawaii, and there we celebrate May 1st as Lay Day. There are celebrations in schools, but my most distinct memory of Lay Day is that on May 1st every year they cover the statue of King Kamehameha in Honolulu with enormous leis that go all the way down to the ground, and they pretty much obscure the statue entirely. It's quite a sight if you've never seen it. If I can find a public image of this, I'll put it in here because it really is incredibly cool. It's a day that always makes me think of the coming of spring. I can smell the flowers and see the beautiful leis, and it's just, I don't know, I guess I call back to my childhood. Gosh, what was it? I don't even know what that has to do with anything stitching related, but anyways. So the other thing that I have for you is some Stitchy Kindness. Hold please, I need to move a few things around. Stitchy Kindness is actually kind of an understatement here. This was an incredibly generous gift from a good friend. So a good friend sent me something that she knew I didn't have in my library, which was dun dun dun, Feller Collection 2. This is the book on the later part of their collection, covering most of the later samplers, and oh boy, there is some really fabulous eye candy in here. This has been out of print for quite a long time and goes for just astonishing amounts on the secondary market. Hold on, I'm trying to find one of the, there are just some really beautiful things in here. Hold please. Oh, here we go. Look at that. This book has some really beautiful later samplers in it. And yeah, so I do have Feller 1, and you can tell how long I've had it given the fading on this spine. Feller 1 is actually my favorite of the two Feller books. One, because I'm just more interested in 17th century pieces, but they do have this, oh, fabulous casket. So that was something pretty amazing that got added to my library since I saw you last. But the reason I'm sharing this is just as a general note that never miss out on something you think you might ever want when it's in print, because if you do, it's going to be eye-wateringly expensive later when it goes out of print. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because there are some great books that are currently in print, which I would strongly recommend anyone to add to their library. I've mentioned all of these before. I just think it bears repeating because you don't want to be then stuck paying crazy amounts of money for something you missed out on when, you know, it was still available at retail. The first, which to me is like the must-have book on samplers, is Sampled Lives, Samplers from the Fitzwilliam Museum by Carol Humphrey. this is a fabulous book because this has both eye candy for days and incredible substance. A lot of the books on the market are more picture books than, you know, scholarly productions, but Sampled Lives really stands head and shoulders above so many others because it has both. And it's a wonderful book. I can't recommend it highly enough. And then the others are some of the Whitney Antiques books that are still in print, Choice and Precious Work. So this last year's exhibition catalog. This is, I think, going to be one of the really important needlework books that's been published. And then I Write the Needle's Praise, which is the band sampler exhibition from the year before. And then, so if Fell or Two is out of your budget, and seriously, it's out of everybody's budget for what it goes with these days. The prices are crazy. I have another much more reasonable book to suggest for just some great sampler eye candy, and this is a older Whitney Antiques catalog that I think you can still get from the attic. That's where I got it. It's called Embroidered Lives and Family Threads, 3 Centuries of Historic Samplers. It's got a lot of really great pieces in here, but it also has what is one of my personal favorite samplers of all time, just for sheer quirkiness. Like, I give so much to know what was the story behind this. What was this girl thinking, and what did she, I find this one fascinating. So this is Hannah Stonehouse, 1808. And what, if you don't look at it too closely, you see a verse, you see an alphabet, you see this great elaborate floral border, and then you move to the bottom, which shows the outbreak of the Peninsular War and an Englishman shooting a Frenchman. It's so, it's just incongruous. I mean, did she have a family member who was a soldier? Did she feel very strongly about the politics of the Peninsular War? I mean, I love the tension between this really, I guess you could say, girly floral border that it's a beautiful, beautiful embroidered border, and then the battle scene at the bottom. It's so quirky and weird. I love it. Some of you may have heard this already because I was just going around at Sampler Symposium with this book opened to this page and being like, look at this. So if you've already heard me on this one, sorry. But if you'd like some sampler eye candy without having to shell out several $100s, this would be a good choice. So those are my sampler book picks for things that will not set you back extraordinary amounts. You know, I was really lucky to have bought some of the books like Feller One, like Twixt Art and Nature, when they were still in print, and then there are some that I've had to acquire after they were out of print, and you know what, I've always regretted it, and that's why we're having this whole segment of the Flosstube, which if you're not interested in books, I hope you just fast forwarded, because you know, it's not that amazing. But the last thing I have for you today before the giveaways, which we'll do last, that I haven't discussed, is my biggest WIP, the Britomart sampler. So Britomart and I are gonna take a break for just a minute because I felt like I was really chasing my tail here. I do have just a little bit of progress to show you on this, and I will. But there comes a time with any large creative project where you kind of hit a wall. And that's where I have been on this. Sorry, coughing fit. When last I saw you, I was pretty more or less in the same place I am today. See if you can find the change. So I had finished the bulk of band 5. I was saying I was going to add this border, which I have not done. I was hoping to work my way down to the final floral band, the carnations, which I also have not done. or to start filling in some of the green and making revisions to band 2, which I also have not done. What I did do since I saw you last was revise the border to band 3, where I now have this kind of very yellow limey highlighter green that was actually a mid blue. And this band has been giving me fits for a while. I felt like it didn't quite fit, and I had been discussing this with a friend, and she had started calling it my stinker band, and I was like, hey, not fair, not a stinker band. But at the same time, you could see what she meant. There was something wrong there, and I kept looking at it going, what is it? And I finally put my finger on it. It wasn't the band. The band itself, I really like. I think that's fabulous. Whether or not anybody else agrees with me, you don't have to. What was not working was the equal value pink and blue of the border. It was letting the band down. So the change I made was actually to frog the whole border top and bottom and completely restitch it. But I think the addition of that more yellowy green kind of helps that come to the fore in this band, so it's a little less dominated by blues of the same value. I do still have work to do on this to kind of bring it all into more balance. I mean, that second band really does need to be finished and get those greens in. But I think a little time with this in timeout will help me see things more clearly, because the last things that I've done on this sampler, which would be the revisions to the border on band 3 and then all the finishing elements on band 5, I've just been chasing my tail. And when you get to that point where you can't see things clearly, that's a big message that you need to kind of step away for a minute and then hopefully return to it when you can have just some distance from the project and a little clarity. I think it happens on pretty much every project. It's a little frustrating here because I feel like I'm so close to the end, but don't worry, this is still coming. We'll see it again very, very soon, but I do need to put it away. And this is the back, by the way. I do need to put it away just for a little bit so that I can come back and look at this with fresh eyes. So I don't know if we'll have any progress on the Brenham Art sampler for the next episode. I think likely not. But, you know, if I get a middle of the night brainwave and I see my way forward on this, then I think progress will probably come very quickly once I do have the requisite kind of mental space for this. But it does need to spend a hot minute in timeout, so we may not see it for an episode or two, but we will see it again quite soon because I still think that this is going to be a really, really special piece, and I'm very excited to share it with you. So that does bring me to the conclusion of this episode and my giveaway. So I have finished chocolate hearts in a beautiful handmade wood shaker box, but as we discussed a few episodes ago, that is by no means the only way you could finish this piece. You could do this as a drum with a stitched top in plain sides or in a coordinating fabric, like a quilting fabric. Might be really nice. You could use my ribbon edge ornament, well, it'd be more like a hanger, like hanging than an ornament, but that would be a beautiful finish. Or you could put it on a different kind of box, a less expensive one. The handmade shaker boxes are a little more expensive. So 7-inch round is a very standard size, and you can get a 7-inch round paper mache box at Michael's for, you know, very little that you can paint any color. Or you could also get one of these, which is shaker style and can be stained or painted red, perhaps. I know many of you are very into red. And so this is my giveaway. I bought 2 different boxes, not sure which one I would use, and I'd like to offer the one I did not use to you. whether or not you've bought the kit, if you'd like to decoupage a box, just all of your stuff, if you'd like to stitch chocolate hearts, you know, with the called for flosses, you know, anything you might like to do with this, you are welcome to enter the giveaway as long as you are in the United States. I'm really sorry to my international friends, but like, oh, what they have done with international postage rates is totally crazy. So US only, please. And the keyword for the giveaway is box. Am I creative or what? So use the word box in your comment to enter the giveaway and enjoy. I will draw a winner in the next episode. And then the scroll frame that I had been using for the Burnham Art sampler but changed when I got my Millennium frame was never claimed, so I do have a new winner for that as well, and that is Cindy Jensen 3555. I've commented on your comment. Please contact me through the contact form on my website. Send me your mailing address and I'll be happy to get that in the mail to you. So, final reminder, the spring kits are now available on my website. Those are chocolate hearts and feathered nest pinkeep. I hope you really enjoy stitching these as much as I have. They're both projects that have brought me a lot of joy, and I hope that they'll bring you a lot of joy and stitching enjoyment, as well as some fabulous, fabulous finishes. So I will see you again in 2 weeks when hopefully my voice will be back to normal. I'll have some more stitching, but oh man, life has thrown some curveballs lately, so I guess we'll see what I have to show you in 2 weeks. I'll see you then, and until then, happy stitching.